Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing, well, gambling yet again on this channel. Gambling has been a topic that's come up rather frequently in recent weeks, and in my opinion, it's something that may be an issue moving forward. Based on sort of what I'm seeing, what we saw last year, it looks like there's serious consideration being given, at least in Parliament, to the notion of legalization of gambling. Now, that said, as we've discussed in other videos, specifically, I have a background in the gaming industry. I actually worked in the casino business all through law school, and I like to think I have a little bit of insight, at least, into sort of the pros and cons of gambling. There are major benefits, most notably in the form of tax revenue that can accrue to the state as a result of the legalization of gambling. That said, setting up a well-balanced framework on how to implement legalization of gambling from the outset is a good idea. So, for example, as I've discussed in other videos, I have my issues with the notion of just having one casino complex. I think there are good points to be made for having at least limited gaming licenses in other contexts. For example, being able to get a license for a single, for example, poker table at different venues, much in the same vein that, different bars and establishments throughout the country have pool tables. Maybe you could have a single card table. Some people could play cards when they want to. It'd be another way to draw in possible customers for that sector, the food and beverage sector here in Thailand. Again, and casinos themselves can act as a sinkhole for money, but not only that, they can cause real problems to a society as people become addicted to gambling, for example, lose all their money, and then that causes ills for society because oftentimes society has to effectively take care of folks who've had problems with gambling. So there's a lot to really look at when you're analyzing the overall issue of legalization of gambling in a given jurisdiction. Now, that brings us to online gambling, which is kind of a newer thing. It was around when I was, for example, dealing cards back some 15, 16, 17 years ago, but it was in a very different form because smartphones were not ubiquitous back then. In fact, they didn't really exist yet. In the modern era, gambling is way different. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from the Bangkok Post. It's bangkokpost.com. Article is titled, "Just Asking for Trouble." Quoting directly, "The idea floated by Deputy Prime Minister Somsak Tepsutin of legalizing online gambling to boost government revenue has come under fire as critics believe the pursuit will be hard to control and will cause multiple social problems." Mr. Somsak, who supervises the Justice Ministry, made the remarks following reports that 8 policemen were found to be involved in online gambling operations. Quoting further, Wisanu Wongsin Sirikun, an economic scholar, told the Bangkok Post that the internet brings together all forms of betting and people can gamble on apps, websites, on smartphones, or computers. The problem is how to protect children and young people from online gambling. Even adults are likely to become addicted to it. Online gambling is easily accessible and people can gamble anywhere, anytime. Yeah, that's kind of the problem with online gambling, is one, accessibility to children. Hard to regulate that, very hard to regulate that. I mean, we see that even with issues involving pornography in children on the internet, not specifically children being involved in that, but they're having access to it. I can say as a parent myself, I am concerned that, my child could, access that kind of material. I would worry the same way about legal online gambling platforms here in Thailand. The other big issue is what you have to keep in mind. I remember doing the analysis. I even took a course in law school on Indian gaming law, Native American gaming law. And we got into the issue, the notion of destination gambling or casino gambling. Convenience gambling. So destination or convenience gambling. And the real downsides to convenience gambling is addicted gamblers are much more likely to abuse it and have serious problems. Now, you can make arguments regarding physical casino spaces. That's one thing. And I think there's arguments pro and con to be made, but I'm kind of on the fence as to whether or not that's good or bad or indifferent when I'm thinking about it in a physical context. When I think about online gambling with the ubiquitousness of smartphones everywhere, yeah, I think that's a bad idea. I think that Thai society would get all of the downsides and no particular great benefit. Yes, tax revenue, obviously, as they go into in that article, and I urge those watching this video, go check out that article in detail. But as noted in previous videos, okay, there's tax revenue, but you have to weigh it against the societal ills. And from online gambling, I see the societal ills far outpacing any of the benefits associated with tax revenue on that kind of activity. So the thing to take away from this video, at least in my opinion, is, look, I think there's strong arguments to be made for casino complexes. I think there's even stronger arguments to be made for certain limited licensing for smaller venues that where sort of the lower strata of the economy can benefit from it as well, at least to a limited extent. I think there's strong arguments to be made for that, especially in the context of what I call skill games, for example, poker specifically. But as far as online, no, I don't think Thailand would benefit greatly. In fact, I think it would be a massive detriment to Thailand to see online gambling ubiquitous here in the kingdom.